Time now 6:42. There are accusations of a whitewash this morning after the government vetoed plans to publish letters between Tony Blair and George Bush about their plans to go to war with Iraq. The decision ends several years of delays to the Chilcot inquiry, which has been looking at whether Britain's decision to join the conflict can be legally or morally justified.
Well, we're joined by The Sun's former political editor, George Pascoe-Watson, and Kevin Maguire, who's associate editor of the Daily Mirror. Good morning to both of you. So, we see in the papers today these accusations of a whitewash. Has it been?
Well, we don't know yet until you see the report, but if you don't get all the documents, you don't see all those private notes, you'll never really know the full truth, because George Bush, Tony Blair were very chummy, there's a lot of sofa chat, and it's always been felt that Tony Blair decided to go to war in Iraq and go there with George Bush before you knew anything about weapons of mass destruction, before you knew any of the other cases, that he just hitched our wagon to Bush's horse. And of course we know the result. 179 British soldiers died, more than 100,000 Iraqis killed, so like 30 billion wasted on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and terrorism is worse. Achieved absolutely nothing positive.
And I'm wondering, George, who's pulling the strings here? Is it civil servants in this country or is it the Americans? Because the argument is, you know, if we reveal details of a private conversation between a president and a prime minister, no one will ever talk to us again. And the Americans clearly don't like the idea of the Brits hanging their dirty washing out in public, do they?
The idea that you would release private details of a conversation between a Prime Minister in the United Kingdom and the United States President is just ridiculous. It's for the birds. The sensitivity of that nature of conversation is just about as sensitive as you can possibly get. And people shouldn't forget the relationship between Britain and the United States is absolutely paramount for our national security, for trade and all that sort of stuff. So it's on both sides of the Atlantic that the pressure is completely, clearly on not to release these...
Try telling that to the relatives of soldiers
well, of
who
course.
died
I mean,
Iraq,
it's a very, very difficult...
the Iraqi people.
Sure, and it's a very, very difficult decision to make for certain people who've obviously lost dear relatives, and that's a terrible situation. But this is something which is part of the consequence of war, and it's a very, very difficult situation.
But it's not national security, it's political embarrassment. And I remember a few years ago, a couple of guys were jailed for a leaked document which showed that George Bush had been joking, we were told by the Americans, bombing Al Jazeera TV in Qatar, in Doha, where there's a great big American base. Now, what else is in there as Blair and Bush have been chatting about what they're going to do in Iraq? That's why they will not want it to be released, because there'll be so much there that is embarrassing for